it's because he was so rooted in it, he couldn't forget. And I really believe that it's divine, that presence of God that was in him, and just to have that kind of passion about something, even if it was the only thing, God would not let him forget that. And that's probably the last thing I'm going to remember about him for the rest of my life.
My name is Anisha, and I'm also grandpa's. And I'm also a grandchild. And one time when I was little, I was 5 years old or something like that, and my parents were going to a minister place or whatever, and it was a Saturday. I said, Grandpa, what are we going to do today? He goes, well, I have to do something for BBS, but you can go ahead and do what you want to do in the workshop. So I found this little piece of wood, and I said, Grandpa, can I nail this? And he goes, sure, go ahead. So I'm nailing away, and I got cut. He goes, just go after me, she'll fix you up, and then go eat lunch, don't come back. I said, okay, I won't come back. And then Bernice is like, well, go help Grandpa sing. So Grandpa's like, I told you not to come back. And Grandma's like, you want some tuna? And that was my favorite meal of a lifetime in this retreat. Thank you.
Boy, today is a day that we have tears because of the joy and happiness that we have with Harold. I'm Mark Earth, and my wife Rose is back there, and we live in Elgin, and I had the wonderful opportunity of meeting Harold at the church. And he told me the way he got started there as a missionary. They came to that church one Sunday. And here's where all these 40 people or so sitting there listening to a tape. They didn't even have a minister. And from what I understand, he went home with Bernice, and he said, I have a calling to go and serve in Elgin. And he came there. And what an inspiration he was. But I had no idea what he gave up and his family coming there and serving us for the years that he did. And God worked in such a wonderful way. I don't know how many years it was 6 or 7 or 8, but for every year he was there was one member that was baptized and gave their life to the Lord. And that's what Harold was all about. And one of the hardest times for me was when he was getting ready to move back to Tremont. I had not been to his house, and he asked me, he said, Mark, he said, we got this great big truck, and I really don't feel comfortable. Would you drive the truck for me? So got the truck and the trailer and got all of his wood tools and everything loaded up in there. And I was a firefighter for 12 years. I'm good at driving trucks, worked with public works for 35 years. And so I drove the truck here. And when I pulled onto his street and saw that they went from this cupola in Elgin to this 2-story beautiful house in Tremont, I just broke down in tears. That they were willing to give up not only what they were living in, their family, their friends, the little town of Tremont, to come and serve us. 10 years ago, my wife's mother and father passed away. She's got a disabled brother who's got cerebral palsy and in a wheelchair, and he moved to Timber Ridge 8 years ago. And we were trying to find a place here that we could come and spend a weekend with him. We opted to get a house built in Tremont, and every Saturday while that house was being built, we went to Harold and Bernice's house. And Harold would take Frank in his wheelchair out to that shed and talk about his garden. And Frank liked to see sparks, because that's what his dad used to do. So we got his grinder started up and started grinding up the metal. Well, pretty soon Harold started running out of metal. So I had to get a 1-inch steel rod used for blowers back at the village and give that to him so he could not run out of metal to make those sparks for Frank. And Heidi was involved too. She would go to garage sales, and she got herself an electric grill, and she sat out on the front porch with Frank with that electric grill and made our hamburgers for us. And then Heidi and Denise would practice on making desserts. And after they got to making those desserts, we got to see if they were good or not. They were all delicious. And an interesting thing, Frank is a very, very picky eater. And when we were at Harold and Bernice's house for the 6 months or so, every Saturday they fed us their dinner. And Frank ate every single thing that they made. What a true blessing Harold and Bernice have been. And yes, it was very special to have them. And I thank all of you for giving us that part of their lives.
introduction, I suppose. Gone from My Sight by Henry Van Dyke. I'm standing upon the seashore, a ship at my side spreads her white sails to the moving breeze and starts for the blue ocean. She's an object of beauty and strength. I stand and watch her until, at length, she hangs like a speck of white cloud just where the sea and the sky come to mingle with each other. Then someone says at my side, "There, she is gone." Gone where? Gone from my sight, that is all. She is just as large in mast, hull, and spar as she was when she left my side, and she is just as able to bear her load of living freight to her destined port. Her diminished size is in me, not in her. And just at the moment when someone says, "There, she is gone," there are other eyes watching her coming, and other voices ready to take up the glad shout, "Here she comes!" And that is dying. Proverbs 10:25, Bruce in my Bible, reads like this: "When the storm has swept by, the wicked are gone, but the righteous stand firm forever." Luke 12:15 says, "Then he said to them, 'Watch out,'" this is Jesus, "but be on your guard against all kinds of greed. A man's life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions." Well, I want to thank you for coming to share this precious day with Harold's family, the celebration of his life, and his graduation to glory. Look around. Every one of you here today has some connection, some memory of Harold, but only a handful of you are his peers. Most of us here today came into Harold's life well after the formative years. We think first today of recent memories like some of these. Harold and 5 daughters and a couple of granddaughters walk into a respite care facility where Harold will stay during Bernice's funeral. The intake attendant gathers some information from one of the sisters, then turns to Dad and says, "Who are all these people?" Poor Dad can't remember a single name. So he just smiles and says to the lady, "They all belong to me." Many of us have a memory with some variation in the past 2 months of a conversation like this. Here's mine. Harold says, "My wife doesn't live here anymore, does she?" Connie says, "Yes, she's gone." Harold, "Well, where is she?" Connie, "She's waiting for you in heaven." Harold, "She is?" Connie, "Yeah, and you're going to meet her there." Harold, "Hope I get there."